We return on Crossover Thursday. Locked on Ravens, Locked on Bills, bringing everything you need to know before that Ravens and Bills Sunday night matchup. Just as a reminder, today's episode of both Locked on Ravens and Locked on Bills is Crossover Thursday is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Man, Joe, I'm so pumped for this matchup. This has been a game that's been circled even just when that schedule release came out. Under the lights, two great quarterbacks, two great teams. But from your perspective on Buffalo's side, what are things they need to do to get the job done and pull out a win in Baltimore?
Kevin, I got three things written down. And number one, I think you're going to do crossovers all year long. And if they don't say this first, then I don't know what they're watching. But you got to be ready to stop the run. Obviously, we talked about the potency of this Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson backfield and how successful it's been to this point. And I'm really interested to see how the Bills match up with personnel because we know Baltimore's going to put multiple backs. They're going to put multiple tight ends on the field, right? They're going to play with big people. Well, the Bills don't play defense with big people at all. There's not been a snap this year that they've played with three linebackers on the field. They're 79% nickel. They're 21% dime. They are 5 or 6 DBs on the field, seemingly no matter what. And I know that Baltimore and Miami are different operations, right? Completely different. But they're similar in the fact that they both will put big people on the field. They both want to play multiple backs. They want to play multiple tight ends. Buffalo did not adjust their personnel for that. Now, listen, with Miami, I think you're more concerned with how they're going to push the ball vertically down the field. And so you might invite the run and say, hey, yeah, if you don't want to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, go right ahead. We'll concede rushing yards. And the Bills played 75% too high, middle of the field open coverage and gave them light boxes on like 17 of 34 runs, like 6 or less in the box on 17 of 34 runs against Miami and said, go ahead, run the ball if you want to. I don't know if they're going to do that against Baltimore, right? I think you're more concerned, with all due respect to the Baltimore passing game, you're more concerned with stopping the run game. And so do they adjust? Do they play with bigger people? Well, you'd love to play a third linebacker, but your top two are out. Matt Milano's out. Terrell Bernard's out. So the guys that would be the third linebacker, they're the 1 and 2 right now in Dorian Williams and Balin Spector. They're playing well in a fill-in role, but do you have a guy that you believe in to step in and be the third linebacker, or do you continue to play with small people and hope for the best? That's an interesting recipe. So be ready to stop the run, and you better be right in your approach on how to do it. Number two, you got to test the pass defense. You just talked about it, right? Like they're giving up yards. There's communication issues, guys that are in different spots that aren't maybe playing to where they're supposed to. You got to test it out. You know, this isn't the game to go in and beat your head against the wall and live with a bunch of dirty runs. This is a Josh Allen throw the ball game, in my opinion. And the fact that you don't have Stephon Diggs as the go-to guy and you do have this idea that everybody eats and you want to spread the ball around, I think that works to your favor in a situation where, all right, maybe they have some challenges with newness. Okay, well, take that to your advantage and know that you can throw the ball. I mean, Josh Allen threw the ball to 10 different players, right? They scored 6 touchdowns, 6 different players against Jacksonville. So take advantage of that and test them out. And then number 3, I know this is very generic. I got very specific with the first two, but like you got to be ready for a 4-quarter fight against Baltimore. The Bills, you know, the game scripts got out of control against Miami and Jacksonville. Of course, they played a tighter game against Arizona after the Bills got down 17-3 in week 1, came back and was able to take care of their business. But this is not a game where I think you have any expectation that you're going to go in and have this massive lead and, you know, you're playing your starters with 10 minutes, you're playing your backups with 10 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. And so you'd love to make Baltimore one-dimensional and say, hey, Lamar, you got to play a drop-back passing game and see if you can come back. You'd love to do it. I don't know if that's something you can go in with that expectation. Meanwhile, like this is a narrative with Baltimore that they blow fourth-quarter leads. So there's that dynamic that exists. And I mean, it happened against the last time these two teams played. The Baltimore kind of gave up a late lead in the game. So you got to be ready for a dogfight for 4 quarters and playing a unique opponent that presents completely different challenges than what you face to this point.
Yeah, and I honestly almost took the words exactly out of my mouth for the 3 keys, because for Baltimore, you have to take advantage of your personnel. And if Buffalo wasn't going to adjust and not put the heavier personnel out there and kind of roll with their heavy DB looks, which again, I think the trend over the first 3 weeks has been their they're going to roll with it. Well, you have Derrick Henry, and with Derrick Henry, I mean, it's tough to put him out there. And you're right, Miami's different, Jacksonville's different, Baltimore's different. But man, Derrick Henry's just a whole different beast in terms of like what it takes to bring him down. And for me, within that first key of running the ball, you also have to be able to open up rushing lanes and take advantage if you're an offense. Because what Baltimore has done is they've used imbalanced lines. They've used offensive line rotations. They do a bunch of stuff up front. You mentioned players like Patrick Ricard, heavy personnel, heavy sets. Those are all things Baltimore loves to work in. And so if Buffalo is being a bit lighter with their personnel, if you just bring in all these heavy guys and you say, all right, well, we're just going to go straight up with you, more often than not, you would assume at least the Baltimore would have success. And then does Buffalo adjust? And do they have the personnel to adjust? And will they? Are they willing to do it? That's one of the big keys for me. The second one is definitely going to be on the defensive side of the ball. And that is, make Buffalo one-dimensional. And obviously this is more so, can you stop James Cook and Josh Allen in the run game? Obviously, I don't think stop is the right word. It's more so contain with those two guys. But you don't want to worry as much about it. You want to make sure that you as a defense, if you can eliminate any part, Roquan talked about this before week 1, and it's a big point for any team. If you can stop the run or just make an offense one-dimensional in general, it eliminates a bunch of different factors you have to worry about. You talked about that with Isaiah Pacheco against the Chiefs. And, you got to make sure, make Mahomes throw, essentially. You got a whole lot of flack and a whole lot of heat for that, considering the player Mahomes is. But the principle itself is if you can take away an aspect of what an offense wants to do to your defense, it benefits you in so many different ways. And so the consistency there, and the third key with me is the consistency of the fourth quarter. This is a 60-minute fight. It's not 48 minutes. It's not 30 minutes. 4 quarters of play. The narrative is wide open for everybody. Everybody knows what it is with this Baltimore Ravens team. Doesn't matter if it's 14-10, 28-6, 31-17. The game's not over till it's over. And Lamar Jackson's been very vocal about the fact that he wants to just keep his foot on the gas and make sure that the team is done and that there's no doubt that they're winning. But the Ravens have gotten a little conservative with their play calling, both on offense and on defense, to kind of say, hey, let's get out of here with a win. And just that's come back to bite them. So in my opinion, they have to be able to play this game for 4 quarters and kind of do away with that narrative of what it has been. This is not just a one-off or a 2-off thing this season. This has been over the last handful of years, as you mentioned, Joe, back to the last time these two teams played. It's been there forever. So for me, I think this is going to be a close, hard-fought game. I think it's going to be a one-possession game. I think this is going to be a close one. Maybe poetically it comes down to the kicker battle between Justin Tucker and Tyler Bass. And Justin Tucker right now, 29th out of 29 qualified kickers in terms of field goal percentage, 62.5. So who knows? Maybe a Justin Tucker revenge in terms of getting back on track. But I think it's going to be a close one.
Probably. Interesting line, like you mentioned. I think Baltimore favored by 2.5.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? They'll play it and see what happens. But I think we did a good job of breaking down the key variables that'll sort this thing out when it's all said and done.